you want access to this podcast earlier than any other viewer, consider becoming a channel member. All tiers get access to this podcast earlier than people who are not channel members, and it does help out this channel a lot. So if you do want to get all of the news updates, discussions, and market information for Flesh and Blood before anybody else, please make sure to become a channel member today. This podcast is also sponsored by Fyendal's Collection. Fyendal's Collection is a collection database website dedicated to showing you the market analytics of all things Flesh and Blood. Looking to track an entire master set? Fyendal's Collection has you covered. It's as easy as creating a collection in their collection tab and choosing which set you'd like to see in all of its glory. There's even an option to only add one of each equipment and cold foil, which really excites my set collecting heart. As a free user, you can upload your collection here to have a great look into what you have accomplished so far in Flesh and Blood. But if you wanted to track your collection in the secondary market, becoming a subscriber really ramps up that analytics portion of Fyendal's Collection. For a measly $3 a month, you get to see the gain and loss each of your collections receive, so you can accurately determine the worth of your cardboard, as far as dollars are concerned. Subscribers also get access to the Market Trends and EV Tracking tabs too. Market Trends is a great way for you to see what's hot in the Flesh and Blood market, and may even give you some insight into what you should pick up for your own collection. The EV Tracker tool is another great example of the data that Fyendal's Collection can provide. Tired of wondering if you're going to get hosed if you buy a booster box or even a case? Well, the EV Tracker is constantly updated to show what your estimated value is on each Flesh and Blood sealed product, which is a great thing for sealed collectors or even people who are just looking to get into the single selling business. Again, all of these tools and more are available to you for just $3 a month. But how about a free month's trial of the site before you settle in? By going to the subscription section and choosing a promo code, you can enter my affiliate code ASHTCG, all capitalized and all one word, and you will get a month of Fyendal's Collection subscription service for free. So if you've been looking for a new card collecting database for your master set collections, or even just some small little collections of your favorite pieces of Flesh and Blood, look no further than Fyendal's Collection. Don't forget to use the promo code ASHTCG when subscribing to receive a free month of service. Thank you so much to Fyendal's Collection for sponsoring this channel, and let's get back to the video. Welcome in, my wonderful Ashwings, to another episode of the Common Language Podcast. Today we've got episode 11, so into our double digits now as we move forward through here, and I eventually remember to actually make these when the time comes. Work's been very busy, so I do apologize for any of my, channel members who might be looking for these, or any of my just regular subscribers that might be looking for these and have not been seeing them. Trust me, I try to get them out as soon as I possibly can, but after I'm done recording them, I effectively just kind of sit here and go, okay, we got to edit it, and then it's hard for me to get around to do that. So what I wanted to do today was talk a little bit about the World Champion of Flesh and Blood, more specifically the World Championship of Flesh and Blood, the event that took place in Osaka over this last weekend. And let me tell you, it was an absolute blast to watch. I only got to watch the top 8, but in most situations, that's a lot of what people want to see anyway. But there is an entire live blog of the event on the Flesh and Blood website. So if you go to fabtcg.com, you can go ahead and check out the live blog for the World Championship in Osaka, and you'll learn a lot more about that. But I did a kind of recap effectively on our channel when we were doing the live watch party for the keynote speech that happened on Thursday. But we are going to go over it here in this podcast in case you guys didn't want to watch the entire live stream to get my reactions. And that way I can give you guys a little bit about what we have. So let's go ahead and let's take a quick peek here into effectively the entire concept of this. So with this, we have the Thursday keynote recap. I'm not going to go over everything in here, but just kind of browse over this stuff for those of you who didn't know and talk about my own personal opinions on this. So we see the organized play roadmap for 2025 stacked with a whole bunch of stuff here. Obviously, the next ProQuest isn't until April, but there's tons of skirmishes. There's 3 skirmishes in 2025, which is great. I've always been an advocate of making sure that skirmishes happen more frequently, since normally their point distribution is nowhere near as it's nowhere near as relevant, strictly because previously it was just Blitz. Now it's Blitz and the Living Legend format, and the Living Legend format does not utilize any Living Legend points. So that is kind of the perk of it there. But the skirmish season allows for people who want to play Blitz to have that option, and skirmish season is a great thing for that. Speaking of the skirmish season, another reason why I'm happy that we see 3 of them now is strictly because we are seeing changes to not only the Blitz format, but also to the overall Living Legend concept, right? So normally, whenever you'd go to any of these events here, whether it be a ProQuest, a skirmish, a Road to Nationals, a national championship, whatever it might be, whatever hero won that event got Living Legend points. When that hero has hit those Living Legend points threshold, in Blitz it's 500, and in Classic Constructed it's 1,000. Whenever a hero would hit that threshold, that would push that hero to essentially be retired, right? They'd no longer be able to play in those specific formats. If there's a Living Legend adjacent format for these, these formats, like Living Legend is for Classic Constructed, if there's ever a Living Legend Blitz, they'll have that there too. But something that's changing is that we're going to see some changes directly with Blitz. And you'll see here that Blitz is having a threshold to attain their Living Legend increased from 500 to 1,000. And this is because with skirmish seasons happening more frequently now and more people wanting to get into Blitz, or at least there are more events for Blitz that are happening during these skirmish seasons. With that, they are now increasing that threshold to also be 1,000. In doing so, they also doubled the amount of heroes of Living Legend points for each hero currently in the Blitz format. So if they were already past that 500 threshold, they got their points doubled, so they're still a Living Legend. Besides Zen. Zen is a hero that nearly nobody got to play in the Blitz format specifically, simply because within the first 2 weeks of Zen being a viable hero in a Blitz constructed, tournament scene, effectively, a place where they can get Living Legend points, he hit Living Legend. Zen was a very powerful deck, and still is a very powerful deck, and can provide a whole bunch of stuff, but the bans that were supposed to be for this hero that happened in Classic Constructed did not happen in Blitz, and therefore Zen got to run rampant throughout the Blitz season and hit that Living Legend. But because there are a lot of people who are really enjoying Zen as a hero, maybe they connect with the hero personally, whether or not they really enjoy the play style, they'll be able to play Zen again in the Blitz format. So during the skirmish seasons, you are able to play Zen again now, just following the new ban list that is for Blitz, which is removing all those draw effect cards and stuff like that. So still very powerful. And frankly, I still think that Zen has a great play into a 20 health format, right? We have to remember that Blitz formats are usually 20-ish health in regards to their overall game plan. So Zen can still provide quite a lot of burst with things like, the Strides of Reprisal. Is that the name? Yeah, Strides of Reprisal, I think. The boots, and then Traverse the Universe. You still have access to 12 Petal Kasaya and Tiger Stripe Shuko and Blitz, and he's a very powerful hero. So I certainly think that Zen has a lot of play. Will we see Zen hit Living Legend again? Maybe, with it coming up, there is a blitz season, or there is a skirmish season coming up in December, so just next month. So if that is something you guys are looking to get into and you've been testing with Zen, feel free. You should definitely go ahead and check it out because he's a really, really fun hero if you like ninjas. So you'll see that this change is happening on November 12th. So in just right before this new skirmish season is due to happen, this will change and put into effect. So that will be important to note. Another thing also is that seasonal programs will have a fixed number of LL points. So this is really important because seasonal programs are for, if I recall correctly, this is essentially a way to restrict the amount that are going to be put into these heroes during these things like a pro quest or a skirmish or stuff like that. Yeah, moving forward, all seasonal play programs, including Classic Constructed, will distribute a fixed number of living legend points to ensure that heroes arrive, stay, and leave at a reasonable pace. So this is maybe like the, I don't know, it feels like the 8th change they're doing to the living legend system. I like the initial concept of the living legend system and always have, but when it does come to things like pro quests and road to nationals and stuff like that, if a hero is really on a tear, that hero can easily attain more living legend points in a pro quest season than they ever will winning the world champion, which is crazy to me, right? 100 points are given to your hero that you win a world championship with, but you can easily get over 100 points during any of these pro quest or road to national seasons strictly because you have there's so many people around the world playing Flesh and Blood, which is fantastic. But with that being the case, there are more pro quests that get given out, more road to nationals that are awarded to LGSs for them to run at their local scene and play. And with that being the case, I think that it's good that they have a fixed amount, because now it's like, okay, maybe 100 is the cap, right? Maybe we're keeping 100 to be the cap. So for instance, if Enigma ends up going into this next ProQuest season, Enigma goes about going, okay, I'm going to try, everybody's going to play Enigma, because if Enigma is really, really good, they're going to play Enigma. And Enigma will only be able to win X amount, right? If it's 5 points, they'll have to win. What is that? Math. Well, maybe not 100 points, but like 20 games. So maybe they'll do like 40 games, right? Which means that Enigma can only win up to like, and this is just an estimate because I'm just making up the number in my head, but like, if a hero can only gain a certain amount of living legend points during these seasons, right? Then let's just assume that Enigma can't win more than 200 points in the ProQuest season. That means that there are only 40 games in which Enigma can win and get living legend points. But I'd assume the other people who also win with Enigma, because it's not just about the living legend points, it's really about winning and getting that invite into the Pro Tour or Nationals. But with this being the case, I'm sure their name will still be put onto the Roll of Honor, even though they didn't get living legend points, because their name is still, put in gem as a winner with this hero during this pro quest or something like that. So that is something to keep in mind. But it's nice because it allows quite literally for that, right? That means that if a new hero hits Blitz and that hero is so incredibly good that during the first skirmish season, they win 50% of their matches, which is just insane to think about, right? That is, if they do 100 matches and they win 50 of them, then they end up getting X amount of those points, right? 5 times 50 is 250. So they get 250 points. That is a great start. But if there are significantly more people who win, right? If 200 games are won on these new heroes that enter the fray during these skirmish seasons, then you're looking at a near living legend hero in the matter of a season. So because it's being truncated at a certain number, which we don't know the number yet, but it will be important to see that, so that way people can commit to picking up a hero and playing that hero and enjoying the playstyle of that hero without it being like, oh, okay, well, they're, I don't know, they're really strong, and if they end up getting 500 living legend points in a ProQuest season, that means that they're definitely going to be hitting living legend soon. Instead, it'll be like, oh, they gained 100 points during ProQuest season. I can still play them at my locals. They have to win big tournaments to get like a huge chunk, or they wait until the next Road to Nationals or ProQuest season to get their numbers up again. So that's a big change there. Happy to see. I know there was a lot of talk in regards to the living legend system and how things could be changed, and is it causing more harm to have this living legend system, or should there be more of a rotation? I've heard, but I still love the living legend system. I think it's great. Now let's move into the Pro Play stuff here. So Pro Play 2025, they've actually gone ahead and coined their circuit now to be the World Tour, right? So they've got the World Championship, which is actually coming back to the US this year, which is super fantastic. So 2025, very excited to see where that is. Then, of course, there are 2 Pro Tours, one in London and the other one in the APAC region. We don't know where that in the APAC region is yet, but they obviously have a place planned out. So hopefully that's important there. There's 60 Battle Hardens, 22 Callings, and then 50 national championships planned worldwide. So tons of stuff. I think only the amount of Pro Play stuff that has been put in has been like up until March or something of next year. So there's still a lot more time to figure out where these events are going to be held. So if you find one that is happening in your area, I certainly suggest going to check it out, because it's just a blast. It's a fun time. Even if you go and you just like walk around the venue and you meet people, it's a great time. So not only is the World Tour more than a rebrand, it's about recognizing commitment and excellence to Flesh and Blood organized play. And then this new system will award players with World Tour points based on their final standings at Battle Hardens, Callings, National Championships, Pro Tour, and the World Championship. At the end of each World Championship, whoever earned the most points will be crowned the annual Player of the Year. This is more than just a title. There's a $100,000 prize pool for grabs. Players can be accruing World Tour points starting from Battle Hardened Hiroshima next weekend. So effectively what this is if you are winning a lot of these big events, or even if you're just like placing really high in these big events consistently, and those numbers end up racking up, you may have never won a Pro Tour or a Battle Hardened or anything, but if you always end up making like second place and somebody new always keeps making first, it depends on, it's just as if it's effectively an incentive to go to these events that you normally wouldn't be able to try your luck and accrue these points to where you could be crowned the Player of the Year with the most points. Obviously, we know a lot of competitive players are very big about flying into different countries and playing in those Battle Hardens or playing in those Callings. And it's not going to be easy for that if you don't have the means to go about flying everywhere all over the continental US or even into Europe and Asia. But luckily, there will be Players of the Year. And if I recall correctly, and I'll see whether or not it's somewhere else here. It doesn't look like it is. But I do know that they had said during this keynote is that there will be a Player of the Year for each region that Flesh and Blood covers. So one for the US, one for Europe, and then one for Asia. Asia Pacific. So very interesting, but it could also come down to just one player. I'm not sure if they're going to do one for each region or if they're doing just one in general, but they're getting the World Tour Player of the Year total prize pool is 100,000 USD. So I'm assuming there is a Player of the Year and then it is tiered down. This is the same amount of money that was given to the world champion. So it is not small amount. So it's just more incentive to get players to go to these big events, play in them. And then even if you don't place like crazy high, placing still gets you points towards this player of the year, which is great. So another fun little thing for them to do. Here is more stuff here. Again, they also, I don't know if they showed it up here. They did not. We are looking again at another $1.5 million prize pool for the World Tour for next year. So very nice there. Go over some of the exciting locations. Talked about a few of these already. Again, they only have kind of stuff up until March, but you know, we'll see whether or not we get something in Denver sometime soon. If we do end up getting something in Denver, I'll talk about it for hours. So I'm excited. There's a video for it. You can check it out there. Product releases. This is something that's really important because we wanted to talk about this. Product releases. We know that the Jarl deck comes out this month. It is November. It's probably going to be late November that this comes out, but the Jarl deck is soon to come out. Going to be very exciting to see Ice back in the meta. I know a lot of people are really excited to see Ice back in the meta. It's going to be great to see Guardian doing more things now. But then we have set 15 in January. 4 more Armory decks slated to come out next year. One of those Armory decks are being released alongside set 16. And apparently, according to James White, set 16 is his most favorite set to work on so far. So yeah, set 16 scheduled for June will introduce something never seen before in the world of Wraith, as well as an additional Armory deck released alongside it to help new players join the battle. So whatever's happening in set 16, I don't know, but the fact that's all the way in June hurts my soul because we're still in November. So I'm excited for this set, which we'll get into, but I'm also now really curious about this set. So another thing to add is that they came out with the mastery packs for Archive, right? The Archive packs are something that were set up here. We did see that the mastery pack Guardian was being pushed back to August. I think initially it was due to come out in December or January. It was pushed back to August for some reason, effectively, but this is coming out for Japan early. This is effectively more reprints. If you don't know about the Archive packs, they're Japanese cards only. You can only find them in Japan, and it's effectively an entire set full of reprints for the heroes that these sets are supposed to represent. So they do have an Archive pack for Part the Mistveil, which gives you Assassin reprints, Ninja reprints, and Illusionist reprints, and then some generic reprints in there as well. Rosetta Archive pack does that exact same thing, except with Rune Blades and Wizards and the Elemental stuff. And then this Mastery pack is going to contain a bunch of Ice and Guardian stuff to give the Japanese players some support for when the Jarl deck comes out. Because again, most of the stuff probably came out of Everfest or from Tales of Aria, and then maybe even prior. So it's important to get those into the hands of the Japanese players because they didn't have an access to that initially. So it's good to know they're pushing hard to make sure that these cards are available for that situation. So now let's talk about the next set. Okay, this part is going to be a little long, so if you don't want to hear me talk about the Hunted for probably like 30 minutes, you can skip this part, but I'm going to talk about this. Effectively, I called it. Just want to put it to the record here. I called it. We are going back to Volcor. Very happy to see, right? The Hunted calls players to take up the mantle of 2 vengeful Drakai, high-ranking officers in the Loyalist army. With their emperor slain, they ride out across the fiery plains of Volcor to bring the killers to justice. If only it were that simple. Every closed door harbors a menacing secret, skittering through the darkness, darting in and out of view, knives glinting in the dead of night. A web of danger lies in wait for the approaching draconic forces. This is the Hunted. The Hunted is set up to, have their world premiere in Prague on January 17th. They are then going to have their pre-releases available World Pride on January 24th, and then the official release 1 week after that for this set. So end of January, it yeah, I really wish this was sooner. I'm already like losing my mind, like looking at everything here. But we do see here some of the cards. You can obviously go to the same article that I'm talking about and reading here to check these out. But you'll see that there are Draconic cards, Assassin cards, Ninja cards, and really surprised they don't actually have anything else in here. Well, I for some reason can't find the picture, but that's just because I'm unprepared and doing this off the fly. But effectively, let me tell you that in this set, we have the return of the Draconic talent. So Draconic is getting a bunch of new cards. That's really good because FaB is the only current Draconic hero in Classic Constructed. And then, of course, you do have Draconic heroes of Dromai, FaB, and the Emperor in Blitz. And so this is more Draconic support. You're also going to be getting, technically, 3 new heroes that we know of so far, but also maybe a 4th. So the first hero is Fang, the Drakai of Blades. Fang is a Royal Draconic Warrior. And then you have the next hero, which is Syndra, the Drakai of Retribution. She is a Royal Draconic Ninja. And then the third hero, which technically has not truly been announced, but kind of has, is Arachne. But Arachne is not going to be played much like the other Arachnes that exist. There is currently a picture floating around, and hopefully editing me can put it up there somewhere, of a hero promo card that is being given out at the world premiere for Prague called Arachne Slip Through the Cracks, but in like a weird leet speak thing. And effectively, that is showing us that this is an Arachne adult hero that has the same, nearly the same effect as Arachne Solitary Confinement from Outsiders. The only difference is that there's a little bit of a talent next to this hero in which it says Chaos. So there is now a new talent being introduced in the set called Chaos. And with Chaos, we have this, an absolutely insane show of different Arachnes. We're still not sure how Arachne is due to be set up, how they're going to be done, but from what I know is that Arachne is going to have multiple different either forms. My own personal, I'll put my ticket in for hot takes or my predictions for this hero is that Arachne is going to kind of have several different masks, right? And these masks that Arachne collects are different ways that they disguise themselves in the world of Wraith. And when that happens, they take on a different form, they get new abilities and all these different things. So I'm assuming what's going to happen is that each of these heroes behind this forefront picture of Arachne, they're all named Arachne and then the name of a type of spider, right? So Black Widow, Redback, Trapdoor, Funnel Web, Orb Weaver, and Tarantula are the ones that we know so far. What I'm assuming is going to happen is that this Arachne, maybe not Arachne Slip Through the Cracks, but whatever this Arachne is effectively going to be play this hero and then choose a Arachne Agent of Chaos from your inventory and put it on top of Arachne. That becomes your hero for the remainder of the game. And that way you can have one hero with multiple different play styles, and also it gives the illusion and that chaos that really seems to be that keyword here, whether it be the new talent or just the overall theme of the assassin style here, is that you never know what you're going to sit across the table from. You know, you could be expecting to go against a meta pick of Funnel Web Arachne, and instead you're going against Black Widow Arachne, and you're like, oh no, my sideboard is not prepped for this, and then you just end up losing. So it's going to be very interesting to see more of these cards And I'm really, really excited to learn more about it. Yeah, Countdown to Chaos is effectively the same deal there. Very, very cool art on every single one of these. We know Swarty is the artist for Arachne, and I'm sure every wonderful artist has had their own little take on Arachne in these situations. But I'm really curious to see what happens and how we learn more. But right now, we just know that Arachne slipped through the cracks is in here. And if that Arachne is not the same as this Arachne, if there are 2 Arachne heroes and 6 of these Agents of Chaos, then that leaves the number 8. In the Blitz decks that come for this, because there is going to be a Blitz collection, it does show that there are 4 heroes in the set. So right now we only know of Fang, Syndra, and that's it. We have not gotten an official name for Arachne or the 4th hero. So we don't know anything in that regard. We haven't taken a look at it. So we'll know more within time. But for right now, it's all speculation. But I love me a good speculation. I mean, it really is super fun. And if this is how this Arachne plays, I'm very excited to play them. And I really, really, really think that that is a big shift in the overall game design of Flesh and Blood with that, one size fits all kind of hero. All right, so let's go ahead and just kind of dive quickly into the classic constructed side of things for the World Championship. I wanted to take a look at just what was initially represented, what had made it to day 2, and we won't really go over the draft because the draft is not, while it's incredibly important for the record, and I think draft is an important thing for people to learn. There's so much intricacies in regards to draft that is just like not a blatant understanding of why these heroes do well here. So we're just going to take a look at the classic constructed side and kind of go over that here. So with the metagame minute here, we have day 1 of the World Championship. This is 78 Enigma, 72 Aurora, 53 -IO, 53 New, and 52 Viscerai. Also, oddly enough, 44 Zen. You'll see a lot of these premium decks that were initially kind of running the show during last season not even make most of the cut here for the World Champions. 18 on Azalea, 11 on Victor, still running that Guardian Love. We still have people who are running KO. And then you've got all these other heroes down here. Vincent is a hero I personally picked up to learn and play at my LGS, and she just have 1 represented here. And we'll see whether or not she made it to day 2, right? So then, of course, we've gotten these other things here as far as the armories go. We're kind of just looking over all of this in regards to how fun the event was. This is people learning how to play Flesh and Blood. They always have these up at these big events. Is if somebody comes in and they're like, ooh, I wonder what this event is. These are people who are willing to teach others how to play the game. It's great. There's even a judge program now to allow people to earn a certificate to be like officially able to teach somebody the game, which I think is really, really cool. There were some tickets for some cool display stuff here. This is just some other cool things. Let's go ahead and go over. This is all that draft on Friday. Then there was the draft on Saturday, right up here. This was, this was the draft that went on there. We eventually now see the conversion rates for these heroes and how they went. And we get to see what is left over on day 2 after that draft round. So on Saturday, day 2, there are 33 Aurora, 28 Enigma, 26 -IO, 20 New, 20 Viscerai, and then 11 Zen. Everything else is down to 1 digit. Vincent did not make it into day 2. There is a Rhinar in day 2, Rhinars in day 2, 2 KOs, 2 Acilios, 3 Dorinthias. A lot of really, even like Prism being down at 1 is very interesting to me, because I think she's significantly more powerful into this aggro meta than Enigma is, but I digress. I think New is a great pick, and Dash.io just got a whole bunch of really cool stuff to be a nice like combo-y kind of game. So very cool to see. This is kind of left over after people have dropped out, or the players that have converted, because you needed to have a certain rate of wins in order for you to convert to day 2. Let's move to my favorite part here, the dumpster dive here for Saturday. There was the Commoner Gold Foil event that happened. And of course, as always, Kasharn's always happy to talk about some wonderful Commoner. In here, we've got, Kasharn was on Ira Crimson Haze. Kasharn does love to actually play in these Commoner events when they're able to go. So really cool to see. They were on Ira, but of course, the winner here won on Icelander. That's what it is. So Icelander took it. It looks like the Icelander list was also running some Fyendal's Spring Tunics, or not Spring Tunics, some Fyendal's Fighting Spirits, Photon Splicing. So definitely something a little bit different. Fyendal's Fighting Spirit did get a downshift into the common slot in Rosetta. So another tech there, along with a bunch more wizard cards. So love seeing it there. I think the list, we can go over on a different video when we're not talking about the specific thing, but I certainly would love to talk about it, because I think the deck is just, it's everything you want in an Icelander deck. Like, everything is exactly correct, except like Photon Splicing is new in there. You've got the blue frostings, Brother in Arms. Like, that's wild to me. You've got the 2 Spring Tune, or the 2 Fyendal's Fighting Spirits, and the 2 Red Wounded Bulls. This is effectively just like a closer resemblance to what the the classic constructed version of Bullander is like. So pretty cool. So congrats to Powell for this. Team Poland taking down the Commoner section here. Always love seeing these in the articles, because I feel like sometimes Commoner just kind of gets brushed over. But knowing that Kasharn is in charge of these live blogs, I know that I'm going to get Commoner content out of this. All right, let's go ahead and get into the top 8 here. Wonderful top 8. I do apologize if I mispronounce anybody's name. Gregors Kowalski is the Team Poland member here. They were on Enigma, if I recall. Yeah, Classic Constructed, they're playing Enigma. And then this is just stuff about their favorite card. This is the deck list that they used. Then there's Alan Lau of Blue Pitch from Hong Kong. He was on Dash.io. Then you have Valentin Mackel, who's from Austria. They were on Enigma as well. Then you have Noah Bagelman, who's from the US. They were on Viserai Runeblood. Love to see Viserai in the top 8. You have Mercy Bickle, who's actually from Team Ascent. Not only from Team Ascent, also a Colorado player from here. They play just up north from where I am. So it's very cool to see them in the top 8. If I recall correctly, this is their very first top 8 of anything outside of a ProQuest. So they just like windmill slammed into the top 8 of the World Championship. And honestly, not only is that like a super big thing on her skill as a player in Classic Constructed, but also draft is normally what like kills people who are just kind of getting into these higher tier tournaments. I see a lot of people just bomb draft because they just don't care to play it. They're like, whatever, I just force whatever this is and I win. And then when they don't have the ability to force that hero, they are unsure how to pivot, and it costs them a lot, and it ends up costing them their spot in the top 8. But Mercy was able to take down those games. Heart of Gold Games right up here. That's where their local game store is. So super cool to see that Mercy's in here. And then Rob Catton from the UK, Aurora Shooting Star is who they were on. And then, that Aurora was also what Mercy was on as well. And then you have Michael Hamilton, who made it to the top 8 as well. Obviously, the very first world champion of Flesh and Blood. Seeing him in the top 8 was a really, really cool to see. They were on New Alluring Desire. And then we come into Sam Sutherland. If you guys don't know who Sam is, every single time there's an Australian like nationals or a battle hardened or a calling or something of the sort, Sam's going to be there, and he's going to be playing Dash in some variety, some mechanologist in some variety. And Sam just kills it, absolutely kills it. No surprise, they're on Dash.io for this top 8. And that is that's the top 8 games. So it's really cool to see here. I'll go ahead and spoil it here, because if you haven't gone to see these games, I do suggest going to check out the live stream that is on Flesh and Blood's YouTube page, because it's really, really good. So we'll get into that in a sec. I did want to go over the cosplay contest, so it's really cool to see plenty of wonderful cosplayers here, just absolutely gorgeous. It looks like this cosplayer is actually cosplaying the felling of the crown, like art, which is really, really neat to see. You have a Zen cosplayer. You've got Azalea. I believe that's Carolina over there as Lightning Greaves. You've got Arcane Cussing, Arachne. There's Ira. It's just like a ton of really beautiful things. It looks like, James White loves the cosplayers and everything. This Arachne had an actual Codex of Frailty. Apparently they must have played some kind of game with the people who were attending, and they gave everybody a Frailty token because of this. It was just really, really cool. So lots of wonderful cosplayers. Verdance, like, absolutely gorgeous outfit. Like, are you kidding me? That's insane. Look at this. Look at the vamp braces. Look at the crown. I mean, like, the wig is even done really, really well too, if that's even a wig. So super pretty. You've got more Ira here, Arcane Cussing, Zen, very cool stuff. So, big congrats to everybody in the cosplay contest. There's so much creativity that goes into cosplay. I know I have not done cosplay in a very long time, and that's because I know I don't have the gumption to get it done. Maybe one day I will, but that is not right now. So let's get into the finals here. So if you're not sure, if you haven't seen it yet, the finals were actually Mercy Bickle against Grzegorz Kowalski in the finals here. So you have Poland versus the United States in the World Championship. Again, Mercy never having top 8 anything outside of a ProQuest, and she's in the finals of the World Championship. So it's crazy. She's got a whole story behind this, in the fact that, she practically picked up the deck on Thursday, the day before the event, because she was like, I'm not sure what I'm going to bring, or like, I kind of want to bring Aurora. And she got in contact with Yuki Lee Bender and Ellie Bird. And they were just like, hey, we got a list for you. You want to try this out? And they practically taught her in the matter of a day, because she got the deck on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday she went to Universal Studios, and then on Thursday went to go and learn the deck before she went into this World Championship. And I mean, if that doesn't prove how intense of a player Mercy is, I mean, you really got to have a lot of knowledge into TCGs to be able to just pick up a deck and go, okay, I get it. I know how this works, right? And then so that either says a lot of really good things about the introductory concept of Aurora, or it says something amazing about Mercy's ability to kind of just take all the information in regards to a deck. And of course, she had fantastic teachers in Yuki Lee Bender and Ellie Bird. So always great to see. And then Grzegorz is an insane player. I mean, Team Poland is nothing to be scoffed at. And this whole match was a nail biter, because it was effectively Count Your Blessings Enigma against a very combo-esque version of Aurora. And the games went on super, super well. I mean, every card mattered. And finally, it looks like Kowalski took it and became the 2024 World Champion of Flesh and Blood. So Team Poland taking it home, the win there. We almost had another one for the United States, and a local at that. But congrats to Grzegorz. It's seriously, so cool to see. I know a lot of people are not very big on the count your blessings style of gameplay, but frankly, fatigue is always going to be a viable way to play the game. And the way Gregors played, again, you have to watch it. The way he played was so intense because there was one moment in the game that occurred that was the make or break for the entirety of the rest of the game. And it might as well have been a Sigil of Solace moment for Gregors. So very cool to see. I definitely suggest checking out that game. And that was the World Championship. That was it. Team Poland took it home. US got second place. Now, Mercy's coming home with 25 grand. It's crazy. A whole bunch of all this other stuff. Super fun. I don't know if we're going to be hosting some kind of fun party for Mercy. I've never met her personally because it's a little far north as far as where the LGS that she goes to, but she is part of the Discord that we are a part of, and so it's always great to just cheer her on, and it was a fun time. But yeah, it was really cool to see the World Championship, and it's always fun watching these big organized play events because unfortunately I'm not normally one to ever be able to play in them, yet alone do well enough to play at these top tables. I just don't have the time to practice like everybody else does. But I do know that with enough skill, with enough training, and enough motivation, you can pick up a deck and get yourself into the top 8 of the World Championship if you have the ability to do so. So it's super awesome, super fun, and I'm just really excited to see more Flesh and Blood. I mean, there's so much more on the docket for the rest of this year and then into next year as far as organized play events go. And we're going to see the new stuff with the Hunted. Hunted is going to have a whole bunch of new cards in it that comes out at the end of January. Something else that is also happening with the Hunted is that the spoiler season is going to be changed for that. So if I don't talk about this in a different video outside of our podcast, the spoiler season is going to be changed for this event. So, or this set. So in Rosetta, they released a whole bunch of these rares and commons, and then kind of kept a good portion of the Majestics and Legendaries and the Fabled, obviously, a secret until the world premiere. This time, what they're going to be doing is they're going to be announcing and giving out the preview cards of these Majestics and Legendaries and these big cards, and they're keeping a lot of these commons and rares as a secret. And so that way, whenever people go and attempt to draft or do sealed for the first time, they'll be seeing those cards for the first time ever, and it'll be a completely new thing to them. And it's just going to be, it's going to be nowhere near as like mind blowing as far as that goes. Obviously, they're going to keep the Fable a secret still, but I think a lot of the cards that are going to be in common and rare are going to help out a lot. Unfortunately, we're not going to get any new Dromai stuff in this set like I was super excited for, but it is what it is. I'm not upset about it. I have a feeling that it will happen at some point. Maybe that's what set 16 is the return to the actual like Empire of Volcor, because currently the Hunted is not a direct set. Like it takes place through Volcor, but effectively it's a sequel to Dynasty. And so you're having these Drakai roam the land in search of the assassin that killed their emperor. And so that is effectively what the game plan is there for these Drakai. But we're going to see a lot of cool stuff out of there. Assassin support. We're going to see ninja support. We're going to see warrior support. We're going to see draconic support. We're going to see what this new chaos talent is, what it does. And I think it's just going to be a fun time. Very, very excited about the Hunted. I'll probably make a new video on that as we continue to learn more. But for right now, I think the mystery of it is important. So just keep it in mind. Keep looking out for new things for it. You'll probably hear about it way before I do. But if you don't, you at least know where to look. So, but that is that's everything. I guess like I could talk a little bit more about the actual finals. Honestly, if I want to shout out anybody outside of like, the way Mercy played is insanely good. But man, I'm always starstruck when I see Sam Sutherland do as well as he does, because he's just so good at his class. I love watching Sam Sutherland play. It's like playing the same video game 2,000 times over and knowing where every single little iteration of your deck can change based on the card you boost and the cards you have in hand and the disruption your opponent gives you. He's a fantastic player, and honestly, a big shout out to Sam for getting into the top 4, and not unfortunately came into a bit of a brick hand during the game against Mercy, but it was still a fantastic game, and it was just a nail biter. He was able to take down Michael Hamilton in the top 8. So watch those games. Seriously, go watch his top 8 games. It's insane. It's just absolutely so cool. But count your blessings, right? Let's quick aside. A lot of people in from what I can tell, or from what I had heard, because I didn't have the chat open during the live stream, is that a lot of people had a lot of very negative things to say about Count Your Blessings. And while I agree that overhealing seems insane to me, and seems like really, really not great, I don't believe it's anything that can't be not worked around, right? With certain heroes being okay into Count Your Blessings, I feel like Rune Blades do really well with Reaping Blade, kind of shuts down most of their own effect, especially since like they effectively don't heal for anything at all. So like you can play them, but you can't heal with them if your Reaping Blade effect is online. So they still go to the graveyard, but just nothing happens. It's just cool. It's cool to see that there are other ways to go about doing it. Count Your Blessings is a very controversial card, and I don't know that it's going to see any kind of ban or a restriction of sorts, strictly because it's not. It has to be timed so well. The reason why Count Your Blessings did so well in Gregor's deck is because of how well it was timed. I mean, every single play, all 9 copies of Count Your Blessings was played during that finals match, and they were played they read their opponent, they read Mercy, and they were just like, listen, you are not able to handle what I have as far as these cards go. So we'll worry about it later then. And that was it. It was an absolute Count Your Blessings masterclass as far as things are concerned. I have not seen a single game where all 9 copies have ever been resolved. Usually if it's a very racy deck, if it's all about just trying to get your damage to push through before your opponent has an opportunity to get to that late game stage, then it ends up not doing super great. We saw it lose actually to Sam Sutherland's -IO in the top 8 against Michael Hamilton, who was on new, but it was a Count Your Blessings new. I think he was only able to resolve 3 copies of Count Your Blessings before the game was over, and it just wasn't enough to get him through. But in Enigma's end, they have a bunch of ward cards that they can play at instant speed. They have a bunch of chi. They have resources for days with all the blues that are in the deck. Phantasmal Footsteps put in so much work in regards to being able to block an additional 1 in most cases against these aggro decks. It's just really, really nice. So it's great. It's a great counter to aggro. That's just what it is. It's a great counter to aggro. But that is that's it. That's all I've got on the World Championship. It's certainly something that I was really, really sad I wasn't able to go to, but unfortunately, your boy cannot afford a plane ticket to Japan and then also stay in Japan without, having several days off work and also being completely broke. So who knows? I know next year that the World Championship is going to be in the States. So if it is going to be somewhere nearby, I'm certainly going to do my darndest to go, even if it's somewhere far away. I think I'm going to do my darndest to go because I really, really enjoy just like the overall atmosphere and the energy that's in the room whenever a big event is happening for Flesh and Blood. So I definitely want to be more present at these if I can help it. But hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode of The Common Language. I was happy to go over this with everybody and kind of talk about the fun adventures that existed there. This is just a great topic to kind of give my own thoughts about things and kind of explain what I was seeing. I was excited to see Icelander take down the Commoner event. This still goes to show that Icelander is like an insanely good hero, especially with some of their new stuff. And I'd be curious to see what like the top 8 was, but we'll go into a Commoner breakdown of the gold foil events in a different video. So if you enjoyed today's episode of The Common Language, you can always go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well if you have not already. And then, as I said earlier in the video, you can even go ahead and become a channel member. Channel members do get access to this podcast and their new episodes a week earlier than everybody else does. And they get access to emotes and loyalty badges. And eventually I'm going to be doing some channel member giveaways, so you'll get access to that as well. And it'll be a fun time. So thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you thought about the World Championships in the comments down below. And I hope you continue having fun in the Flesh and Blood. And I will see you all in the next episode of The Common Language.